Thank you very much. So thanks first very much, Michaela, for organizing this event. Good morning also to everyone. Thanks for showing up on a Monday morning for this seminar. Just a few words about myself. I'm Stefan Hohenegger. I'm a permanent researcher at the Institut de Physique des Deux Infinis de Lyon at the University of Lyon in France. Concerning the organization that I'm going to present today, the initiative I'm going to present today, I'm also the chair of the SCORP 3 Governing Council, which is one of the decision-making bodies of this consortium that I'm going to talk about today. So let me jump right in and let me try to explain what is SCORP 3. So SCORP 3, as it stands, is an acronym. It's the 3 actually is a power, so it's P cubed. So it's a sponsoring consortium for open access publishing in particle physics. So it is an international collaboration which was launched in 2014 with the goal to enable open access publishing in the field of high energy physics and to help remove financial and administrative barriers to science. The partnership has over the years grown, and today we count over 3,000 libraries, research institutions, and funding agencies in 47 countries all around the globe. And we also include 3 intergovernmental organizations. From the publisher side, we also have, we include currently 11 leading journals in the discipline of high energy physics. So the goal sounds very complicated. So how do we do this? What's the idea? The main idea of the entire organization of this initiative is represented here in this schema and in this figure, which I will try to explain as best as I can. So first of all, you have here in the top, you have the community of the researchers in the field of high energy physics. So these are all scientists worldwide in all the countries of the world where this discipline is being researched. And they can publish their work at no cost in any of these 11 journals that I mentioned before. So they are free to send their work to any of these journals where it will be peer-reviewed, and once accepted, it will be published. So how is this funded? How is, obviously, if the authors don't have to pay for it, there has to be somebody who pays for this money, somebody who provides the funding for that. That's where the consortium part of this organization comes in. So we have now in green institutions in our partner countries. So all the countries that are shown here on this map in green, they host institutions that participate in SCORP 3. These partners provide funding for the consortium. So they pay part of the budget of SCORP 3 according to the share of published literature, meaning countries who publish more articles also provide more to the funding of SCORP 3. SCORP 3 then, as a consortium, centrally pays for the open access and publishing services of the publishers. So they directly talk to the journals, they directly have negotiated exclusive contracts with the publishers, and the publishers in turn, they publish the articles fully open access with CC BY licenses. So that means everybody on the planet with an internet access can download these articles, can read them, and can use them within the framework of CC BY licenses, which of course again benefits the community of high energy physics authors. So this is the idea that scientists, researchers should focus on what they are doing best, aka the science, and all the administrative part and the financing part is taken over by the consortium in a centralized fashion. So let me talk a little bit more about who are these communities. So first of all, who are the scientists? What community is this? The field here is high energy physics, also abbreviated sometimes HEP, high energy physics, which is mainly particle physics, so anything which has to do with researching fundamental particles, both on an experimental and a theoretical level. So you see here, for example, the flagship experiment at the moment at CERN, the LHC. We count around 20,000 authors from 100 countries who work in this discipline currently. And how exactly do we identify somebody who works in the field of high energy physics, or more concretely, how do we identify an article that is falls into this category? So this is done through the archive. The archive is a preprint server which was launched already in 1991, who has a particular category which is called HEP. And any article which is submitted first as a preprint on this archive category is eligible for this, is counted basically as a high energy physics article. Today, we arrive at something like 7,500 articles per year. This number is slightly growing from year to year. And currently, the articles which fall under Scope 3, so which are published by the consortium, they make up around 90% of the literature in that discipline that is published every year. So it's a sizable part. For the partners, we count more than 3,000 libraries, library consortia, universities, research institutions, and other funding agencies from 47 countries, regions, or territories. Again, that's a number that keeps continuously growing. We also count 3 intergovernmental organizations. Most importantly, we have CERN, the European Organization for Nuclear Research, who is also hosting Scope 3. And in particular, does a lot of the infrastructure, does a lot, notably the negotiation with journals, the negotiation with publishers, and also the administrative and financial infrastructure that is hosted by CERN. So it's one of the key elements, in fact, of the consortium. But we also have the International Atomic Energy Agency in Vienna and the Joint Institute for Nuclear Research, JINR, in Dubna, who are also participating as partners to this consortium. Contributions to the consortium, so notably countries contributing to Scope 3, they have to pay part of the budget each year. This is done by a fair share algorithm, meaning countries who publish more articles, fractionally more articles in high energy physics, they also have to pay a higher share to this budget. So this is what we call the fair share algorithm. There's also the structure of the governance of this consortium. So as I already said, it's operated by CERN, which is the host organization of the entire consortium. And it has as partners, as I said, various institutions from all over the world. It also has as the highest decision-making body the governing council. So this is a council made up from all the representatives from all the partners who discuss and take decisions by a majority vote. There's also an executive committee who does the daily work. So they work on a day-to-day basis and do most of deal with everyday problems of the organization. And then there are various working groups who are charged with analyzing certain questions or analyzing strategic decisions or planning ahead for the future. So there's also various questions that are being discussed by these working groups. Again, what I very much would like to insist on is that Scope 3 is a very much a global endeavor. So again, in green, we have the countries who are currently partners, so they're actively contributing financially to the consortium, whereas the countries that are shown in blue, they do while not being partners, they do have at least one author who works in the field of high energy physics, meaning at least one publication in this field per year. And as you can see, both the discipline and also the consortium itself span very much the globe, so they are very much a global initiative. So this was a lot on the consortium side, so let me now also talk about the publishers and the journals. So currently we have, we're working together with 11 journals from 7 publishers. They have been selected through an open tendering process in 2012. So we have been identified in 2012 after an open process. And they currently publish around 90% of all the articles within the high energy physics community per year. So these journals, they cover the majority of the articles that appear every year. Certain ones of these journals are dedicated high energy physics journals, so they only publish content within these particular disciplines. Others are a little bit mixed, so others also have articles from neighboring subjects. In this action falls within Scope 3. So let me give you here a little bit of the numbers. So this is, I calculated these numbers at the end of last year. So we are around 80,000 articles so far that have been funded within this initiative. And here are the journals and the publishers. We have a lot from the American Physical Society who have joined us in 2018. We have two journals from Elsevier. We have one from Hindawi. We had three journals from IOP since 2017. Only the Chinese Physics C journal remained. We have one journal from the Jagiellonian University, that's Acta Physica Polonica. We have one from Oxford University Press, and we have two journals from Springer. On the side here, you see the respective numbers, which ultimately lead to something like 80,000 articles that have been funded. And as I said, if you count per year, if you count all the articles that appear per year, these journals cover roughly 90% of all the literature that is being published within the field each year. Okay, so that explains a little bit the structure. That explains also a little bit the main players in this game. So let me now talk also a little bit who benefits actually from Scope 3. So how does it help? And I've identified here four groups. So these are, of course, the scientific community in the sense of the authors, the readers. I also want to briefly talk about benefits for libraries, and I want to also briefly talk about benefits for publishers. So let me start with the scientific community, and let me start with the authors. So first of all, the authors are free to publish in what are the leading journals in the discipline, the most used journals in the discipline. They retain the copyright of their own work. So in the entire process of this publication, they are never asked to cease their copyright. And the visibility of their work is substantially increased. So by participating in Scope 3, by publishing Scope 3 journals, they can increase significantly the visibility of their work. Let me be very clear here also that journal publication, notably in the field of high energy physics, is still a very important criterion for evaluation. So publishing your work in a peer-reviewed journal is important for national and international evaluations, for job careers, also for young scientists, of course. With Scope 3, what is also happening is the process of submitting your articles is significantly improved. This is much easier for authors. So researchers can very much focus on purely on the science. They don't have to bother too much about find funding to publish their work afterwards. All they have to do is they have to select which journal fits the best for their work and then submit it there. They will never be asked any money. They will not be asked to pay any article processing charges. They can fully focus on their research. Furthermore, the choice of journal is again also not dictated by publishing charges. So there's more about equity. It's really scientific criteria that dictate to which journal authors will submit their work. There's no question about finding that certain journals are excluded or not able. It's not possible to publish there because there's not sufficient funding available for certain authors. Everybody can publish within these 11 journals without any costs. And finally, there's a streamlined submission procedure which makes it fairly easy to publish in these journals. I said that it adds visibility to the work of various authors to publish with Scope 3. So there was a study that was made by my colleagues at CERN about the average number of downloads of papers per month, and they compared articles appearing in journals in 2013, that was before the start of Scope 3, and then again for the average for articles appearing in 2016 when Scope 3 was fully operational. And there is a net increase in the number of downloads, which even holds after like 2 to 3 years afterwards, this effect is still measurable. So the papers are seen more easily and receive more clicks and receive more downloads. Let me talk about the readers. So also readers obviously benefit from Scope 3. They gain immediately full access to peer-reviewed publications through their known channels. And it's very easy to use these papers also for text and data mining. So very specifically, there are no paywalls. There's no institutional login that is required to access the papers. There's no embargo. The moment the papers have been accepted for publication, the moment they are published, they are accessible to anybody who has an internet access to the internet. How can you do this? Well, there's first of all the Scope 3 repository. So there's a dedicated search engine that's visible here under this address here, where you can access the entirety of articles that are in the corpus. This is an old picture, so there's still an old number of articles here. This is updated every day. So whatever new articles have been added to this repository, you can immediately access them through the repository here. Another known channel how you can find work is through Inspire. So Inspire is one of the search engines that is very much used in the high energy physics community. It's a way to discover articles. You can search here for literature, you can search for authors, you can search for keywords. And it immediately gives you an overview over the article, and in particular, it immediately also links the full text in PDF form. So for example, here, you can see this is one of my papers published a few years ago. You can access it immediately from Scope 3. So the full archive, that's the preprint version of this article, but through Scope 3, you can also immediately get the full text, the full PDF for this article in a very convenient form. Finally, furthermore about libraries and partners. So how do they benefit from Scope 3? So first of all, they can support open access according to their research output. So institutions that only publish very little within the high energy physics, they can also through a rather small contribution still make an impact to the consortium. They can still help the consortium and support the open access initiative. They can easily harvest articles to institutional and national repositories. I will show you that in a second. And there's very low costs of running this system. So adhering to Scope 3, adhering to the consortium is basically just paying a membership fee. From there on, the administrative costs and the administrative burden is relatively small due to the fact that notably contracts with editors, contracts with publishers, they are negotiated directly and centrally by CERN, not by the libraries directly. So let me talk about these institutional repositories. So one example in this case is HAL. That's what in France, the French scientific and academic community has chosen as their platform for open dissemination of its research results. So this is not just in high energy physics. HAL is a platform for all scientific disciplines where researchers can disseminate their work. And as you can see, the article I've shown you just before is indeed also on this platform. It's in fact, there has been an automatization in France put in place. So articles appearing on Inspire and through archive on Inspire, they are also immediately put on HAL. And you can see you have here a button where you can download the full article, the PDF file of this article. And again, this is an example where an automatic harvesting has been installed. So articles that have been appearing through the Scope 3 consortium, they can be immediately and automatically be incorporated into these national platforms. Here's indeed just to show you when you click the PDF file, you immediately are put to the PDF. You immediately given the PDF file, which you can download and use within the framework of a CC BY license. Okay, and finally, also for the publishers, there are benefits for adhering to Scope 3. So the most important aspect for them is that it's a stable system. So working together with Scope 3 is a consistent framework, and they benefit from contractual stability over usually a period of 3 years, which is a set period in which there are no renegotiations, no fluctuations. Is a very stable system. It also has very low administrative costs typically. So once the system has been set up, so once the collaboration with Scope 3 has been set up, maintaining that collaboration is fairly straightforward. It's simple to continue basically. And of course, in the same way as the authors benefit from a substantial increase in their visibility, of course, also the publishers benefit from increased usage of the articles on their websites. All right. So here's a timeline of Scope 3. So basically, just to show you how things have evolved throughout the years. So first, the starting point was in 2014, which we call phase 1. There have been all the preparations, negotiations, and with the partners and publishers, internal work, internal discussion among the various partners, which took place before. Starting point of the real operation of Scope 3, meaning the publishing of articles, was in 2014. There was a first phase of 3 years where the system was working, and then after usually 3 years, a new phase has begun, meaning the entire process has restarted. Has another phase of 3 years of operations. Certain events were, for example, in 2018, when APS, the American Physical Society, joined with 3 of their journals. That's a large chunk of the literature. So APS roughly covers almost 50% of the literature within the discipline. So bringing APS on board really made Scope 3 the reach that we have now, gave it really a coverage of almost the entire discipline. In 2022, Scope 3 reached the milestone of 50,000 articles. That's quite a number of literature sponsored in this way. You will also notice that phase 3 is a little bit longer than the previous phases. So usually we had phases of 3 years here. Phase 3 is a little bit longer due to the COVID pandemic, which provided very unstable conditions worldwide, both for stakeholders on the Scope 3 side and also for publishers on the other side. So that's why an extension of phase 3 for 5 years, in fact, until 2024 was decided to not destabilize the whole system and provide problems for the research community. And since 2025, we are now, in fact, in phase 4. So this is the newest phase of this consortium. It has a few, compared to previous phases, it has a number of very interesting and innovative aspects, which I will talk about a little bit towards the end. Before, let me also mention a little bit of the value or how much publication with Scope 3 actually costs. So what is plotted here is for currently APCs of comparable journals within the high energy physics community. So if you're if you're publishing with journals that are outside of Scope 3, some of these journals are in fact run on models that ask APCs, so that ask authors to pay article processing charges. So in this case, the authors themselves have to pay money. They can be waived in certain ways. So there are certain other economic systems. What you see here is typical APCs that are charged by such by journals which are close in the field of high energy physics. compared to the average cost per article for Scope 3. So here this effective, that's the cost you see down here, that's the cost incurred to the consortium for publishing one article. This is not a cost that is directly charged to an author. These are rather costs that are being incurred to the consortium. So this is what the consortium basically pays per article. Whereas these are article processing charges that publishers currently charge for the processing of one of these articles. And what you can see in most of these, compared to comparable journals within the field, the costs for Scope 3 are significantly less due to the consortium approach of Scope 3. I would also like to add that these prices remain stable over time. So you see here a timeline where in 2013, that was the base value, that was 1. And the purple curve that you see here is the increase of the cost of one articles over time. And you can see with the newest phase, we're basically currently at an increase of plus 16%. If you compare this with current rates of inflation, both in the US and the EU, we are significantly below inflation. And if you assume an annual price increase of say 2, 3, or 4%, you see that since 2014, costs per articles would have dramatically been higher than what we've achieved with Scope 3 yet. So the two things, if you compare processing charges charged by journals at the moment, and if you compare how the costs for one article, how they evolve over time, you can see that Scope 3 is doing a quite good job. So we have been able to keep the costs per articles quite low, and we have been able to do this so over a relatively long time and a time frame which is now larger than a decade. A few more things I would like to say. So notably about phase 4. First of all, the current commercial arrangements we have, they incentivize publishers on the delivery of open science elements. So these are elements which guarantee an increase in the quality of publications for authors, both for readers and for authors and for readers, and with the idea of rendering the field more transparent and more open. There's also a comparative scoring system of publishers to provide a continuous incentive to improve the quality. So there is a mechanism in place such that publishers are motivated to improve the quality of the publications, both for authors and readers. So what are these science elements? So what are these elements that we incentivize for journals to improve? There's on the one hand side an incentivize to increase identifiers, both for authors and for institutions, in the sense of systematically adding ORCID identifiers to publications, so linking authors on publications with their ORCIDs. Similarly, linking institutions that appear in publications with raw data. Furthermore, there is an incentive to standardize metadata. So when journals are providing metadata for authors, etc., there's an incentive to do this in a standardized way. To also link data sets. So if authors use data for their work, to link to repositories, accessible repositories on which these data can be found and downloaded. Same for software. We incentivize that journals provide the possibility of transparent peer review, meaning that peer reviewing reports are being made public. This is only we incentivize the possibility. We're not insisting that they are doing it. And we also incentivize the increase of accessibility. So by incentivizing the usage following the WCAG guidelines. So again, if the PDFs are prepared in a way that complies with these guidelines, this is also an incentive that Scope 3 is putting in the current contractual structure. And finally, there is also a disclosure on Scope 3 community values. So we also ask journals to be transparent to make transparent statements on a number of core business practices related to certain community values. And the community values, they're briefly shown here. So concerning diversity, equity, inclusion, sustainability, data privacy, financial transparency, the recognition of the work of referees, and if so, compensation, and finally, publication transparency, meaning acceptance rates and desk rejection rates. We're only asking the journals to provide statements on these values. We are not forcing them to make any statements about them. We're only asking them to make transparent statements about these values on their website or somewhere else. Before closing, there's one more thing, a sort of spin-off that I also would like to briefly talk about. That's Scope 3 for books. So everything I've talked about so far is for journal articles, so the traditional way of publishing. Scope 3 has also tried to leverage this global consortium that we have to provide books, so to open up books for the scientific community. So here the idea is, so it's an idea to transition key monographs and textbooks that are relevant for the high energy physics to open access, to transition them to ebooks that are openly accessible again for anybody with an internet access. So the idea here is that Scope 3 partners and libraries, they opt in, they contribute to a central fund, again, that's managed by CERN, from where they cooperate with publishers to convert these books into open access ebooks, and then they're being made available in open access and hosted on a dedicated Scope 3 collection at OAPEN, where anybody on the planet can directly access these books and work with these books. This project is running since a number of years by now, and here's a global statistics on the number of usages of these books. And what we like very much to see is that these books are basically used everywhere around the globe. So this shows usages, how oftentimes these books are downloaded and being used. And as you can see, it's basically the entire world. People, researchers from all countries all over the world, they are using these books, which is something we are very happy about, and we think is a very good signal and a very good thing for the high energy physics community. You can see also, even per available book, the usage, the increase, the average number of downloads, the average number of clicks is also something that keeps increasing. So this is here for there's a positive trend being shown for how many times these books are being used. We take this as a sign that that this program that we've initiated actually works. So before finishing, so this is the last slide, I would like to just think a little bit like, why does it work? So both notably the program I've shown before for the publications for the journals, what are the factors that actually allow this system to thrive and to work? One factor is certainly CERN, which is an international research organization which provides infrastructure and which covers deficits from countries that do not participate financially. That's a very important aspect. Another aspect is the discipline of high energy physics itself. So that's a mature discipline in the sense that the number of articles that appear each year is relatively stable. There are only very few, very significant fluctuation over the years. And it's a very well-defined field, meaning it's very easy through the archive to determine what is a high energy physics article and what not. In fact, I just mentioned it, archive is another driver of this, why this initiative works. It provides green open access, so it provides access to the articles as preprints. And basically, almost the entire literature is available in this form. So preprints are being very heavily used in high energy physics. Almost the entire literature appears before publication as a preprint. And finally, the last point, the international scale of the collaboration, the fact that we have 3,000 partners with whom we are working with, that we have in 47 countries of the world. We have partners to work with. This is really showing that this is a worldwide endeavor. This is an international endeavor, which also benefits us, of course, economically, in the sense that there are no other buyers on the market. So this is we are the only ones who can negotiate these contracts with publishers, since basically this consortium speaks for the global community. And that's all I wanted to say. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'm happy to discuss to answer any of your questions.